Let's talk about some politics right now. House Speaker Mike Johnson, less than 3 months into the job, but he's been facing increased scrutiny from his own party for a number of reasons. On Thursday, House Republicans meeting behind closed doors with Speaker Johnson, several urging him to renege on his just days-old deal with Senate Democrats. That agreement effectively will keep total government spending for 2024 at the same level as last year, which is a blow to the most conservative Republicans hoping for more cuts. Johnson has not yet agreed to negotiate or renegotiate anything, which could make things even more chaotic. Ahead of Wednesday, these 12 House Republicans had voted against a procedural vote, an open act of rebellion against party leadership. But that's not really surprising, is it? Here to further discuss all of this, NewsNation political contributor Chris Hahn, former senior aide for Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, as well as Republican strategist Terry Holt, former senior advisor to House Speaker John Boehner. Thank you both for joining us this morning. Terry, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
You know, there are a number of people who have been saying, you know, the writing's on the wall. There's going to be a McCarthy Part 2 with Johnson getting ousted by his own party. Then you have people like Matt Gaetz who are saying some of this is being overplayed. Do we have any sense of who's right and who's exaggerating?
Well, I think a lot of this is atmospherics. The fact is that a large block of Republican voters, Republican members of Congress, are not going to be supportive of a deal at the end of the day. So what we're seeing now is positioning. Hardliners want more spending cuts than they've been promised in this deal. They see a shutdown as a way to have a showdown with the White House. Unfortunately, Republicans don't have a good track record of winning these showdowns. So we will see this conservative backlash against the deal until the time runs out like it usually does.
You know, and that's the thing, is that we've cried wolf in Washington so many times. It's starting to get very stale. Chris, do you think, you know, as much excitement as there was for Johnson when he initially was sworn into this post because of the ouster of Mr. McCarthy, do you think that he was already in hot water prior to this negotiation with Democrats?
Well, whenever you could only afford to lose 3 or 4 of your members to get things done, you are always in hot water, especially when you have such extremists in your caucus who don't really care about governing. They care about making a point, right? When you have divided government, there needs to be compromise to keep the government open. And if you're not going to be willing to do that, you're always going to be upset about any deal made at any time. And that's the reality that Mike Johnson faced. It's the reality that Kevin McCarthy faced. If they get rid of Johnson, it'll be the reality the next person faces.
But that, I think, Terry, would be so detrimental to any party. I mean, you have 2 House speakers ousted in less than, I don't know, 6 months. I just think the message it would send to voters that we're really not interested in getting work done. We're more interested in getting our way. Isn't that more damning?
Well, it is a problem, and we're going into a very busy time. This is going to be an election year when Republicans need to prove that they can get something done, that they can make good on promises that they've made to their voters. If this goes on and it demonstrates that the Republicans can't get their act together, then it is detrimental to the whole party. I see the leadership in the House is trying to head that off. I think they're working with the appropriators to get as many bills as they can done. But it's going to be a tight one. And I think at the end of the day, we're going to have to pass these bills with Democrat votes.
Terry, I want to ask you this question. Again, there's only about 8 to 12 people who are, using their power and their voice. They're very vocal, these hardliners. They want more border security. That's something that Speaker Johnson is also very invested in. Why are they not seeing Johnson as leveraging the economic issue for some of these massive problems that, the GOP is highly invested in, like the immigration crisis?
Well, it's just like Chris said. They're not out to make policy. They're out to make a point. They have constituents that are not necessarily in their districts. They're have nationwide recognition, some of them. And so they see themselves as gadflies and will take down policy for the good of making a good political point and playing to their base.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.